everyone. Thanks for tuning in for another edition of Neon Madness. Woohoo!
First time I saw some of Andy's stuff, I think he was a student at Wright State, and it was a Super 8 movie he had done, and I don't remember the whole movie, but I remember the last shot was a tracking shot from a car, and I think it was probably his house, and you reveal all these bodies along the street.
I think the first thing I saw that Andy directed was Black Sun. I had met Andy, and he's like, oh, I'm showing my film. You're in a bar watching a video, made on video, and you're like, how good is this really gonna be? It kind of knocked me on my seat. It was like something totally unexpected. It wasn't just a guy making films in his garage. It was art, it was poetry. After I saw Black Sun, I'm like, okay, this guy is someone to take seriously. He's really a filmmaker.
It hugely affected me because I was looking at this piece and saying, you know, this is a piece of art that is completely what he wants it to be.
First thing I've ever seen by him was actually The Mutilation Man, because I was doing like backyard films, and then here was a guy doing a low-budget movie, and looking at his effects, I was mesmerized by it.
Mutilation Man will stay with you your entire life.
It's one of those films that's experiential. It washes over you and really allows you to enter the world that Andy created. And that's one of the things I think that's really true about Andy's cinema is you never stood outside of it. You experienced it.
I know Andy had heard about my partner Jim Van Beber, and he knew about our films, Deadbeat at Dawn. He was very interested in working on the Manson family. He helped us out with makeup effects.
I saw some of the movie posters and some of the different pictures he had posted up on his desk. And from that moment on, I knew that I was going to be working with someone very special and very fun. Well, once I got around Andy, he taught me how to kind of relax and realize that it's okay to be myself. You know, then I could come out of my shell a little bit.
I came to know Andy at the Miami Valley Cable Council. I was a volunteer at 12 years old. I was really, really young and awkward and unsure. And Andy, you know, looked at me and saw just a world of potential.
I met Andy late 2000, 2001. My brother was taking classes with him at Sinclair. I first seen him actually on New Shock Theater as Reverend Zealot. Was my first actual knowing who Andy was, and then we also bought Neon Madness, the magazine, when it was a fanzine.
I came to know Andy because I was a student at Wright State University. We were doing documentaries. I did an audio piece on Dr. Creep, and as part of that I talked to Rick Martin and Andy Copp. He told me about Horrorama and how it was a big fundraiser for charity for kids, so I went to that, and I was really impressed by everyone who turned out.
He was a guy who was always very supportive and really helpful, but at the same time kind of no BS. You know, he kind of called things the way he saw them, but it was always in kind of a very sort of supporting manner.
Well, we could talk badly about our guests and aren't answering their phones, but I won't do that because I love those guys.
Yeah.
Knowing Andy really affected my life in a positive way. Learning from him, I learned more than I did when I did go to film school.
He was one of these no-budget people who just kind of did things on his own. He didn't want to be part of a clique or a group or suck up to somebody else's vision of how he should make film.
He was really patient and kind, and as a friend, he was just amazing, and he played a very important part of my life. I feel like Andy, he had friends that he was close to, but I felt like he was a friend to way many more people than he even knew.
Andy told me I could make movies. Andy told me I could go out and do it. There were other people who'd said that, but Andy was living that, and he was an incredible role model, without a shadow of a doubt. I owe my entire creative life to Andy.
Andy taught me the value of staying true to your vision and letting it play out the way it needs to play out. Especially going through a university film program, you're sort of taught these rules. Andy was a guy who was operating out on his own and breaking the rules. In that sense, Andy was really kind of, you know, the true independent filmmaker.
Realize Santa's black.
Yeah, well, I thought you knew that.
No,
Okay.
I was misled all these years.
Right, yeah, that's because you're white.
I really didn't get to know Andy's work in cable access until I saw an episode of Pirate TV that was devoted to Black History Month. And I think I got an appreciation for some of his work right there. In growing up in the 80s, the same as Andy, co-producing video 80s hot tracks was also a lot of fun. People would stop us on the street and go, hey, I watch your show. I really like your show, 80s Hot Tracks. And, you know, it kind of pushed us to a celebrity status. I got to see a different side of him. Maybe Andy was kind of coming out of his shell a little bit with this program.
I don't think a lot of people even realize how many shows the man was involved in. You had the New Shock Theater and Brain and Dr. Creep back to television. You had Loops, which was a trailer show, Pirate TV, Psychotic Feed, Neon Madness, Opening Night Theater. I mean, he pretty much did everything that you could think of.
Working on Andy's sets was never normal.
One of the best sets that I worked on for him was Black Sun, and he had us go out into the middle of this playground. It was an elementary playground. We had guns, we had fake blood and condoms filled with fake blood, and like he's telling Chris Workman to throw these condoms filled with blood at one of the actors, and it was literally us standing there for about 20 minutes as this condom was being winged at this guy over and over. And by the time it's over, this guy has welts all over his chest. And Andy's whole thing the whole time was, you gotta throw it harder.
I was the director of photography on his last film, Church of the Eyes, and I filmed him naked. I had to work with animal body parts. He had locations that were overrun with hornets. I was dressed as Jesus and leading a woman around in a leather choker. As the director of photography for Andy on one of his films, we clashed all the time. We'd be filming a tree that had strings tied to it that were holding tongues and forks and knives, and I had no idea what that meant. And Andy would try to explain it, and I would say, Andy, just give up and hand me a shot list. Joe Dorowski's DP had no clue what he was doing, so we'll be fine. I'll probably never experience anything like working for Andy. He had more of a vision than anyone I've ever known.
Both times I was on set with him, he was not only directing, he was also in the film.
We worked with him a little bit on Quiet Nights of Blood and Pain.
He asked us to help out with some special effects makeup for Quiet Nights of Blood and Pain. He's like, well, I'm gonna have it all put together. I just need your help like getting it on, because it was burn makeup for his face. And he had cast everything and it was ready to go. We just had to help apply it and get it painted so he could then do the scene.
We spent about 2 hours putting this makeup, applying this makeup on. He's like, we gotta go shoot. And here he is driving around Dayton with this burn makeup on one side of his face, going to the location so we can do this shoot. It was just like, this is how my day always goes.
And then working on True Nature, it was kind of cool. He worked on it, he helped us out. It was Andy's 36th birthday. He spent with us.
We were shooting at night, fortunately, so it worked out. He's like, I'm gonna go have dinner with my mom and then I'll be over there. And we're like, are you sure about this? And he's like, yep, I'm in.
In the film, there's a scene of a drain backing up in a basement, and that was actually Andy underneath a prop of a fake drain, pushing sewagey kind of murky, nasty water up through it with sort of a device, like a plunger kind of thing.
He climbs under the table to operate the apparatus to get all that nastiness up.
He went for, I don't even know, 10 takes. He would just keep doing it till it looked right. And we're like, dude, it's your birthday, go home. What are you doing here with us? And he's like, no, this is what I do, I love this.
He was such a big spirit and such a loving spirit that's, just being involved in that kind of stuff and helping friends make their art was, as far as he was concerned, it's all he ever needed to do.
Check it out. That's your Reverend Zelly peacing out on this one, guys.
I don't think at times he felt that his work was being appreciated enough when really it was.
I think what he left behind is a legacy of film, a legacy of good friendship, and a legacy of a really decent man.
I think Andy's left behind a legacy that a lot of no-budget, micro-budget filmmakers can really look up to, as far as being uncompromising and following your vision of what you want to do.
He helped so many people learn how to be media makers and tell their stories.
I think he left behind many people like me who he made a humongous difference for. He left behind a fan base that that's going to miss him and his work forever.
I think Andy left behind inspiration. That's the thing that people will look at when they look at his art and go, my God, I can't believe this guy in Dayton, Ohio was creating the type of intense, kind of in-your-face, painful kinds of experiences that I can somehow relate to.